We've got breaking news out of the NBA. Celtics star Jayson Tatum will make his return this season. That's according to ESPN. The six-time All-Star tore his Achilles less than 10 months ago and is now poised to rejoin the Celtics as they pursue their second NBA title in 3 seasons. He's currently listed as questionable for Friday night's game against, of course, the Mavericks. The Celtics currently sit in second place in the Eastern Conference, just 5 games behind the Pistons for first in the East. Boy, how things can change. We welcome you into our CBS Sports HQ studios. Haley Sutton joined by Ashley Nicole Moss. Ashley, I feel like this time last year, all hope was lost and the East was what it was. And now we're talking about Jayson Tatum coming back just 10 months into this recovery. That's kind of incredible.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to how disciplined he's been with his rehab. He's been very vocal and transparent about the fact that he's 6 days a week in the gym, doing rehab, physical therapy, all the things that go into rehabbing an injury of this magnitude. And I think that it's also really important to note that there would be no return if he was not ready. I know a lot of the times we see injuries like this and we think, don't rush back from it, don't rush back from it. And that's just because we're not on the other side of things. We're looking at it just from the magnitude of what the injury is. But there's a phenomenal medical staff around him. The Boston Celtics, his personal staff, his trainer, Nick, that would not allow him to be in the position to even have this news out in the media or before the news came out or just a few minutes ago, the possibility of this even being a reality if he was not ready. Now, we don't know still if Friday is the day, tomorrow is the day. That is still up in the air. Right now, he is questionable. But the fact that we do now know without a shadow of a doubt, whenever it happens, he will be returning for the season is a very big deal.
And we mentioned the standings there. They're 5 games back from the Pistons. Jaylen Brown has just been playing incredible basketball this year. What kind of boost? It seems like a silly question, but what kind of boost does Jayson Tatum give Jaylen Brown and the Celtics based on the momentum they've built?
It's huge. If you look at what happened last night against the Hornets, I don't believe you lose that game if Jayson Tatum is in it, right? So we have seen the Boston Celtics play phenomenal basketball without Jayson Tatum, and I think that's a credit to, one, the talent they have on the team, but also Joe Mazzulla, who's been able to kind of make lemonade out of lemons. And that's not to say that, the bunch of scrubs in the Boston Celtics, but when you lose a player of Jayson Tatum's magnitude, you expect that to drastically affect the team. This was a team that a lot of people, including myself, said would be lucky to get into the playoffs. Yeah. And here they are, top 3, second seed in the Eastern Conference, and now they're getting a superstar in Jayson Tatum returning at some point this season, this month. It's a big deal. It's going to be astronomical for what they're trying to do, and that is, one, go deep into the playoffs, but hopefully make another run at the NBA Finals.
I'm looking at the Eastern Conference standings. Top 3 seeds are all coming off of losses, right? So the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs are in the mix there too. If you are any of those teams who are competing for that Eastern Conference title, that top seed, and you hear that Jayson Tatum is making his return, and again, we don't know if it is going to be Friday or whenever, how much urgency, how does the game plan, change from those top 5 teams? I'll even put the Raptors in there. I know they're pretty far back too, but how does this impact the rest of the league?
You obviously do what you would do if Jayson Tatum started the full season, and that's you scout him, you do your due diligence, you watch the film, you try to attack his weak points, not allow him to get into a groove. But let's also remember, he's missed a lot of basketball, so It's not like you're going to get the most explosive version of him right away. He's going to be on a minute restriction. The Celtics aren't going to put him out, and he's going to start playing 40 minutes a game. So I think that you slowly start to prepare for him. But look, it goes back to what I'm saying. If he is able to play, and the news is now out that he is, without a shadow of a doubt, returning this season, then you know that he is 100% ready to go. And what that means is you have to prepare for a player who's 100% ready to go. So regardless of whether he's on 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, you still have to prepare for 100% of Jayson Tatum.
Is this a championship team with Jayson Tatum?
The New York Knicks are a championship team.
There we
go.
Okay. But if the Knicks weren't the championship team when it comes to the Celtics, I mean, in all real, you mentioned it. This was a team when this happened, and then the Tyrese Halliburton injury happened too. We kind of just felt like the East would be okay this year. So you bring back Jayson Tatum. They've already been competing at a high level there. They've been pushing your Knicks. Is this a championship team?
I think Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are champions. They're championship players, obviously. I don't know if I'm buying into the stock of the Boston Celtics being a championship team as currently constructed. I think this is a good basketball team. I think it's a great basketball team. But when I think about championship contenders, I don't know if I'm quite ready to put the Boston Celtics in that conversation, even with the re-addition of Jayson Tatum, and as phenomenal as he is, this is just a drastically different team that won that chip. And although I think that getting him back gives you a better chance, I don't know if I'm buying into this is the team that's going to be raising another banner in the TD Garden.
Okay, I can't wait to hear Joe Mazzulla's reaction to it, because I'm sure he'll also say something pretty even keel and similar there. Ashley Nicole Moss breaking down that breaking news. Jayson Tatum potentially returning this week, but we feel pretty confident that he will be returning this season. If we look at the odds to win the NBA Finals, I will say, Ashley, the Celtics come in at plus 950.
Yeah, whatever.
Just ahead of your Knicks. At plus 1,600, everyone chasing the defending champs, the OKC Thunder. They have the shortest odds.
To the league we go. Thunder at the Knicks. Thunder at Madison Square Garden trying to get their 8th straight dub against the Knicks at the Garden. What do you say about that, Jalen Brunson? Well, you can say this. SGA defeat Chet triple. Thunder up by 12. What are we doing, Knicks? Holmgren had 6 made threes all in the first half. But here comes the fight back, the punch back from Jalen Brunson. Friendly bounce. Tied the game up at 72. Knicks were down by as many as 15 at one point. But SGA, ooh, that's filthy step back. Nothing you can do about that, OG. Thunder up by 7. SGA had 26 points, but the Knicks yet again would rally. Jalen Brunson, the ball in his hand, spin, space. Jay, good. Knicks down by 3. Next possession, same score. In the corner, bounce, no. OG Anunoby throwing it up there, not good. Thunder hang on to win 103-100. Knicks loss now snaps their 3-game win streak. Meanwhile, if you have not been paying attention to the Charlotte Hornets, may I interest you in this game right here. Traveling over to the TD Garden, Celtics have won 12 of their last 14. Hornets on a back-to-back, but also on a 5-game win streak. Brandon Miller, yes, sir. Right-hand jam. Hornets up by 12 at the first quarter. LaMelo Ball leading the break to Con Knipple, who's very much in that conversation for Rookie of the Year with Cooper Flagg. Jaylen Brown trying to put the team on his back, and there's a hammer for you. Don't jump, Musa. Celtics down by 21, though, at the half. Back to Con Knipple. Just feed him. He's been so efficient, already set that record for most threes made by a rookie and continues to set that mark even further. Hornets win 118-89. 6th straight dub. They're 20-2 when LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Musa Diabate all start. That's a great starting 5, and don't look now, but up to 9 in the play-in. Potentially a chance to get their sights on making the playoff field altogether at 6 with not too much space between them and the 76ers. The Hornets are serious and maybe pretty scary over there in the East. Throughout all that, Ashley Nicole Moss was sitting here hearing all of the great stuff about her Knicks.
It was 1 ear and out the other. Listening to you.
Interesting. I got to give a shout out to the 4, to Buzz City, my former city I used to live in, Charlotte. For the first time in a very long time, they're over 500 now. Their offense is electric, as we just showed right now. How scared should teams be of them in the East? Because when you look at what they've done over the course of January 22nd, best record in the NBA.
Yeah, currently sitting at 9th in the Eastern Conference. As we know, that's the play-in scenario. And I think the play-in is the scary part, right? Because it's a one-and-done situation and anything is possible. So I do think that if this team creeps into the playoffs, I don't have them winning a playoff series, but I do have them making things difficult for their opponent. Now, again, matchups make fights, so it really depends on what the matchup looks like, what team that they get. But I do think it's safe to say if they get any of the top teams, and right now the top teams are the Pistons, Celtics, and the Knicks, I don't think that they have enough in their arsenal to compete with any of those teams. But crazier things have happened. If we get, say, a Raptors-Hornets matchup, that may be better suited for them. It really depends on what that matchup looks like. But I think it's safe to say that against any of the top three teams, remember, we're talking about a Boston Celtics team that did not have Jayson Tatum. Jaylen Brown can only do so much. If you look at by how much they lost by, right there, that point differential is what Jayson Tatum's stat line usually looks like in terms of points. So I think it's safe to say that this was more of an outlier and not a true depiction on what this team could look like in a 7-game series. But I definitely think that a play-in scenario, they can get out of that for sure.
How different is this than the Charlotte that you saw when you lived there?
I did not get much good basketball when I was in Charlotte. Shout out to Kemba Walker. That was fun. But
I love
we did not
Kemba.
have fun times.
Yes, well, fun times certainly happening right now. Let's talk about your Knicks, though. I think the story of the game happened kind of after the game when Mike Brown was, going in on SGA and these, I guess we'll call them villains now that we're seeing with the Thunder, saying that he does a great job at convincing the refs that he's getting hit. What's your take on all of this? Because he's not the first one to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of SGA's, his steez, as we say in New York. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, I think that he's really good at it. Mm-hmm. You can't fault him for taking advantage of something that constantly works. And look, he's not the only guy that does it. James Harden was notorious for doing it. Jalen Brunson has moments where he does it. I think it's what makes certain players craftier than others. Now, it does get to a point where it's a little egregious. I do think he gets the benefit of the championship call, the MVP call. With some of them are just blatant flopping, and I think that's where the frustration comes from. But I can't fault a player for being crafty enough to trick the refs into sending him to the line when it's something that has been done before he was even playing in the NBA. It's part of the game, whether people like it or not. Drawing fouls is part of the NBA. It gets a little bit sticky, like I said, when it becomes so egregious that you can't even, it's like the Jordan rules. You can't even breathe on him without him being called for, or you being called for a foul and him sending to the line. That's where I think the frustration lies, and I think that's where the officiating has to do a little bit of a better job depicting fact from fiction. Because he does go to the line a lot. Yeah,
there's a difference between drawing a foul and that gamesmanship, as you mentioned, part of the game, versus just like, come on.
Then it becomes like insert team versus OKC and the refs. And then that's just like nobody wants to see a game like that. So.
Do you like the Knicks moving forward of their chance to knock out a top team in the West, given what you saw last night?
I like what I saw last night. Now, down the stretch, obviously, there were a lot of mistakes that I don't think were great. I think the Knicks committed a lot of silly turnovers. I think that they committed a lot of silly fouls. I don't like the fact that there are multiple times throughout the game when Jalen Brunson has the ball in his hand, the rest of the offense is very stagnant. They don't move their feet. That's never a good philosophy when you're playing against a team like OKC or any of the top teams, or any team really in general, but specifically the top teams, because what happens is if Jalen Brunson doesn't have a clear shot, there's no alternative option, and he's forced to chuck one up, and that's a loss of a possession. So I would like to see them not be so reliant on the ISO Jalen Brunson ball game and move their feet a little bit more. Also, look, we have to remember this was an OKC team that did not have J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and anything can happen in the course of a playoff series. It's not to say that the Knicks still can't beat an OKC or a San Antonio. Anybody can get hurt, and the team can look drastically different. But that was definitely a winnable game for the Knicks, and I think down the stretch it was just a lot of silly mistakes, and that's the unfortunate part of that. But I do like what I saw in the second half more than the first half, and if that's any depiction on what this team could look like, then, I think we're in a good spot.
Have about 60 seconds left here. Pistons at the Spurs tonight. We saw them play last week, and the Pistons did not win, but then they came back and beat the Thunder. So given that narrative of how serious are the Pistons, what are you looking for tonight?
I still think that the Pistons are a great basketball team. I want to see what happens for them, though, when you take away their physicality, right? A big part of what makes them so dominant and so impressive is that they play physical and they get away with playing physical. But what happens when officiating doesn't allow you to do that that's what I'm looking for tonight. What else is in their bag that can combat whoever they're playing if you take away a big chunk of their physicality, and that's kind of what I'm looking for from Detroit tonight.
Looking forward to it. Ashley Nicole Moss, thanks for breaking down the latest in the NBA. One of many games that you can catch tonight. Mavs and Magic start off the fun from Orlando. That's more of a tip-off time that me and my house can handle.
If you're gonna sing it with the right type.
Sorry,
of
I only sing
Winners.
songs
I only
of
sing,
top 5 teams.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're keeping quiet during this. No singing for Warriors, Rockets, Toronto T-Wolves. You want it. You got it in the NBA. Well done.